Tonight, turn down the noise of the day and focus on the rest with AGZ, the nightly drink for winding down and resting up. New from AG1. AGZ supports your body's natural sleep cycle with clinically studied key herbs, adaptogens, and minerals in amounts supported by research. And no melatonin, helping you wake feeling rested. Wind down, rest up with AGZ. Learn more at drinkagz.com.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by FXX and Hulu. Futurama returns on September 15th, blending heartfelt moments with razor-sharp humor while accidentally saving the day. The Planet Express crew is back, defying gravity and common sense. From the creator of The Simpsons comes 10 new episodes where the romance is hotter, the threats are bigger, and the action hits harder. Don't miss the all-new season of Futurama returning September 15th at 8 p.m. Watch it on FXX or stream it on Hulu.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those who don't identify as either, you are listening to Ratchet and Respectable. This episode was supposed to be a part 2, a continuation of the episode that dropped on Wednesday. In the time since I wrapped that episode to get it in on Wednesday as per contract, a prominent, I don't know what to call him, public figure, speaker, podcaster, Charlie Kirk. I actually didn't know his name until today. I knew his rhetoric. I don't think I put it all together that it was the same person. But he said a lot of sexist, misogynistic, racist, xenophobic, homophobic perspectives that he shared crudely across his very large platform. He has been killed. I intentionally used the word killed. I could also use the word murdered. I could use the word slain. I could use taken out. I'm intentionally not using the word assassinated because he wasn't. People keep using that word to describe what happened to him. And it's not accurate. Just because he had a large platform, just because he was opinionated, just because he had bigoted, racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic perspectives does not make him a political figure, does not make him the victim of an assassination. Everybody with a platform and a microphone who says shit to a wide audience, your murder is not automatically an assassination. I hesitate to elevate him to a level that he does not deserve. I have many thoughts. Some of them are going to be jumbled because he was just murdered, I don't know, maybe like 6 hours ago. I was going to skip it because we keeping it 100. I don't particularly care one way or another what happened to him. I think violence is bad. I don't think he should have been murdered, which is different than do I think he deserved to be murdered. There's a video circulating online of him speaking about Black women, Michelle Obama, specifically Joy Ann Reid, Michelle Obama, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court. Then he cuts to a clip of Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee to emphasize a point that he's making. So he's talking very specifically about these accomplished Black women and implies Black women of similar accomplishment. And he says that they only have their positions because of affirmative action or DEI. And they stole their jobs from white people because, this is the kicker, they don't have the brain power to do so. If you expect me to mourn, to be up in arms, to be like, oh my God, what is happening to our country about this nigga? I don't. And I didn't, even before I saw that video. I didn't, even before I saw a clip of him speaking about empathy. And he was like, empathy is like woke culture. Like, people put too much on it. I don't believe in empathy. Okay, I really wish people would stop expecting me or any other Black person or any other person of color or anyone who's not a bigot, essentially, to find empathy for what happened to him. It's a shame. I would say that. I have empathy for his children. They're very young. The oldest one can't be more than 4, so maybe 4 and 2. It's not their fault that their parents are bigots. I include his wife in that because, like, you heard the shit your husband was saying and you still laid down with him and had 2 kids. You know it's up and you're with it because you with him. When I heard that he was killed, I also hadn't seen the clip about him speaking of the Second Amendment and him justifying death by gun in order to justify keeping the Second Amendment. He has this really popular quote that's circulating online. He says, quote, "I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every year so that we can have the Second Amendment. That is a prudent deal. It is rational." By his own words, he thinks it's worth the cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year. So he is one of them for 2025. Be careful of the hate that you put into the world because sometimes that shit comes back to you. He was at a speaking engagement. I've seen the video, like 3 different angles of him being murdered. He was speaking at a university in Utah to thousands of students, many of them with MAGA hats on. And he was speaking about guns, gun violence. Somebody had asked him, how many transgender people do you think have committed mass murder or something like that? And his response was very flippant. He was like, something like too many. And so the person asking said, well, the number is actually 5. And then the person asked him, well, how many mass shootings do you think there have been? I think the person might actually not have been MAGA and was trying to make a point that, like, 5 transgender people shooting some shit up in comparison to thousands of non-trans people shooting some shit up doesn't automatically make trans people more violent or needing more gun control in the trans community. I'm like, those are the people who are usually attacked, not the people doing the attacking. Like, it seemed like the person was trying to make a point about vilifying trans people. But the person asked, I believe it was a man, Kirk picks up the microphone and he says something like, including gang shootings. It's something like very flippant. Not even almost. It was like a dog whistle. Because, you know, whenever they say gang shootings, they mean Black people. They don't really think about, like, you know, white folks gangs. Like, y'all know the Klan is a gang and Proud Boys is a gang. Most police departments, gang. Okay. But he could barely get the words out and you hear a crack. The first time I saw it, it was very far away. You just see him slump over. If you're looking at one of the videos with an up-close view, he gets shot in the neck. I think it's on his left, and blood starts gushing out. I guess he got hit in the jugular. Definitely a main artery. If it had happened in like some Hollywood blockbuster, I would be like, oh my God, that's so fake. They really overdid it. That's some Quentin Tarantino level of blood squirting. Like it's bloody and very quick. Less than a second, gushing like a waterfall. You know, I watched videos of him being shot 3 different angles. The one from afar wasn't very gory. The ones up close was pretty bad. I might as well have been watching, I don't know, I wouldn't say puppies playing. I have more emotional reaction to that. I might as well have been watching someone changing a tape dispenser. I'm looking at the tape dispenser on my desk. That was the reaction I had. Like, I saw it, like I consumed the content, and that's exactly what I thought of it as. I really just watched videos of someone get murdered in 3 different angles and had 0 fucking reaction. And that kind of terrifies me. Seeing someone murdered should have some sort of response. I feel nothing. I feel like we have been since, January, as a country, brutalized so bad that you can't care about everything. You really can't turn your feelings on, turn your emotions on, because you'd be in a constant state of despair, fear, frenzy. Maybe as a coping mechanism. I wrote about it on Facebook and I was like, so I'm really kind of alarmed because, like, I really don't feel shit. And then a bunch of other people were like, yeah, I feel like nothing. And that's kind of scary. It's a little alarming. It is. Flags are going to be flown at half-mast throughout the country in recognition of Charlie Kirk's death. That's an order from the president, who I believe just released a statement seemingly from the Oval Office. And I was like, this is AI. Like, this is not real. Like, you're showing us an AI president. Like, what, huh? He's openly mourning the death, the murder of Charlie Kirk, and he's going on, like, talking about him in these glowing ways. He'll be so missed, blah, 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 blah. That actually got more of a reaction from me than seeing his murder on video. Because I'm like, really, like, as a nation, the president of the United States, like, he's going to have the flags at half mast. So throughout the country, we're going to mourn an open bigot. It's not even a question of his bigotry. It's not like he says things that are implied. There's like videos of him saying like these completely racist, sexist, xenophobic. I saw some video where he's referring to an Asian person as quote unquote a chink. Apologies for using the word. I'm saying what he said. I feel like if I said C word, you would think cunt, not, Okay. I saw another video, like his default for referring to Black women is calling them moronic. He's talking about like if he got on a flight and he saw a Black pilot, he would be nervous. If he saw a Black doctor, a Black surgeon trying to remove his appendix, he would be worried that they were DEI or affirmative action. Like, that's the kind of bullshit he's on. I mean, I guess, not even I guess, our president and his press secretary and Stephen Miller say as much on a semi-regular basis. So it's not that far-fetched, but like, we're in a really bad place. Not like it's getting bad. Like, we're in a bad place. I don't know the way out of here. I mean, our ancestors were in a similar place. By ancestors, I mean, like, your grandma, who may not be an ancestor. She may, like, be sitting up in the house with you right now. This is bad. Previous generations of Black folks have been through worse, and they got us out of it. They got us to where we were. We are regressing very quickly in terms of our morality, in terms of our ethics, in terms of our feelings, because everything is so crazy that, like, I'm scared.
The number one selling product of its kind with over 20 years of research and innovation. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Has arrived.
I would like you to meet Ares, the ultimate AI soldier.
He is biblically strong and supremely intelligent.
You think you're in control of this? You're not.
On October 10th.
What are you?
My world is coming to destroy yours, but I can help you.
The war for our world begins in IMAX. Tron Ares, rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13. Only in theaters October 10th. Get tickets now.
The other day, I went to D.C. One of my friends was in town, and then also one of my friends had been out of town. She came back in town, and she and her husband wanted to hang out. So I went to Marcus on a Friday night. Marcus is like a super popular restaurant in the city. It's like Marcus Samuelson. What's the place in Harlem? Why can't I remember the name of the place? I've been there 50 million times. Bebby did her dining with Bebby there. What is the name of that place? Red Rooster? He has this restaurant in D.C., and it's very popular. And on a Friday night, all the tables weren't filled. And when they finally did fill up, maybe around like 8:30 or so, it was predominantly white people. And then to get there, I had to drive through Union Market, which is like a pretty, popular part of the city, especially on Friday and Saturday night. And it was a really nice night out in D.C., like 75 degrees, light breeze, low humidity, not a bunch of mosquitoes. And there was still like not a lot of people outside, white, Black, or otherwise. And then the next day, I had to drive into the city because my friend was in town from New York, she and her family. And I'm driving through the city, and it's like nobody outside. Like, it's just weird because the National Guard is there. And I said at lunch, I was like, this is just weird as fuck. That, like, we're sitting at brunch and we're drinking Bellinis. We're having, like, a seemingly great time. And then we're sitting in the middle of a city that's being occupied. Our president has declared war on the city of Chicago. Like, it's not part of America. And we're just sitting here having brunch like this is normal. And maybe it's good for us to pretend to be normal, but also I'm just very aware that that's all we're doing is pretending because this shit ain't normal. Where is everybody? Nobody's outside. I went to another part of the city. I had to go pick up some glasses, some champagne coupes from Williams-Sonoma. I went to Arlington. And Arlington in general doesn't have a whole bunch of Black people, but it does have Black people. And it's a pretty busy shopping area. There were like kids and families, some couples, some friends, whatever. And I looked around and I was like, yo, like there's no Black or Hispanic people outside. There was 2 Black guys in the store coming out when I was coming in. But like that you can count the Black people on one hand or at all adjacent to DC is bizarre. It's not just weird. This is some sick shit that we're living in. And we're seemingly not really doing much. Like there's marching, there's protesting, but there's not like some like Nepal shit. They tried to shut down their social media. Them people, the people of Nepal, they went full fucking ham. They took it to the streets, set Parliament on fire, and the president resigned within 24 hours. And I was like, yo, they about that life. Huh. MAGA they're going to take this man and turn him into some kind of martyr. They put the flags at half-mast already. He going to turn around and get a funeral in the rotunda like he Rosa fucking Parks or something. Just watch. Start treating his wife like she's Coretta Scott King. Which, by the way, this guy like hated Martin Luther King. I saw some interview podcast he was doing, and he said that Clarence Thomas was a much better role model than Martin Luther King. I can't. As of the time that I'm recording this is just after midnight on Thursday. They don't actually know who shot him. Because they don't know who shot him, they can't know why he was shot. The talking points for MAGA, I saw something with, was it Nancy? What's her name? Nancy Mace? Oh, girl, the professor was hitting on. You know what I'm talking about. The eloquent professor who used to work at Georgetown but got let go. That's public knowledge, right? Yeah. Okay. What is her name? Nancy Mace. Yeah. Nancy Mace is already doing interviews and she's blaming Democrats, liberals, the left, for this murder. I was like, how are you blaming people when you don't even know who did it? Like, but the talking point is like the Democrats are violent. MAGA must protect itself. MAGA must react. MAGA won't take this standing down. Like all this inflammatory rhetoric. And I'm like, do y'all want another civil war? I think so. Oh, also, I'm not really prone to conspiracy theories in general. I know I'm not the only person thinking this. Did they kill this man? Like they as in like the American government. Kill this man as a distraction for Epstein? Don't act like it's beneath them. Don't act like they wouldn't do that. I was about to say it sounds far-fetched, but does it? Whoever this person is, I actually hope that they're a disgruntled MAGA person. They're upset with the way things have gone with the country since they voted. They've lost their livelihood, their soybeans, their farm, whatever it is. That they find this person and the person is a Democrat and they can actually really have a face of a Democrat to pin this on. These MAGA folks could be worse than ever. They're already like rabid and crazed and illogical and just filled with hatred and bigotry and anger. And I'm like, what are y'all so fucking angry about? Like, y'all won the fucking election. Like, if Latinos, South Koreans, Black folks, we were that angry, it would make total sense to me. Women, that would make total sense to me. But I was like, these white men and their white wives or white girlfriends or aspiring to be such, like, they're just so angry. Gavin Newsom, he's been generating a lot of goodwill. He got a new social media team, and they've been writing Gavin Newsom's tweets and doing AI, basically mocking Trump, writing in that weird, puerile way that Trump writes and thank you for your attention to this matter, all caps, bold, silly shit, making stupid memes. Gavin Newsom has been talking and doing all these hand gestures, making fun of Trump. You know, those people actually don't realize they're being made fun of. They think Gavin Newsom is like impersonating Trump because he's trying to be Trump as opposed to him clowning Trump. But Gavin Newsom has taken the oddest of stances in response to this Charlie Kirk killing. He tweeted this, which people had a meltdown in his comments. He said, quote, "The best way to honor Charlie's memory is to continue his work." His bigotry? Gavin Newsom defines Charlie's work as engage with each other across ideology through spirited discourse, In a democracy, ideas are tested through words and good faith debate, never through violence. I would agree with that last part. I don't think good faith debate is what Charlie Kirk was doing. He was spreading hate. Engage with each other across ideology. There's nothing for me to engage with you with when you really believe that I am inferior to you because I am Black or because I am a woman or both. Or you think someone is inferior because they're Muslim or they're Asian or they're LGBTQIA+. You think I'm fundamentally inferior to you because I'm not a white man. I don't know what I can really have a conversation with you about because we're not debating ideology. You are a racist and a bigot and you want to oppress me. There's no middle ground that I can meet you at. Like, am I supposed to sit here and prove my worth to you that you inherently will never see? Charlie Kirk, he goes on this rant about specifically Michelle Obama, Ivy League graduate, Ketanji Brown Jackson, Ivy League graduate, Joy Ann Reid. I'm pretty sure Joy Ann Reid went to Harvard. And then he goes to Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, an American lawyer and politician. I didn't know she was a lawyer. I mean, she's in Congress. I think most of them are. Hold on. Where did she go to school? UVA School of Law. She did her undergrad at Yale. So another Black woman with an Ivy League degree. She also went to NYU. Go Bobcats. He sits on his platform and he talks about how these women are inferior. He says they don't have the brain capacity. They stole their jobs from white people. He's saying this about women who have been educated at the best institutions for higher learning that America has to offer. Do you know this nigga dropped out of community college? And I don't think that you have to go to college to be successful. There are plenty of people who don't, but you do have to have some knowledge in something. And to be like a public intellectual, which he was kind of purporting himself as based on having a podcast or debating people, you have no education, which explains a lot about the crazy shit that he says. But then you go on to feel superior somehow to Black women who are genuinely accomplished, who have genuinely worked their way up through the ranks, who have genuinely done the work and earned, not just been given, earned the degrees. The idea that there are Black people in high spaces because of affirmative action and DEI, please understand, it means the door that had been closed to them, despite their brilliance, was finally opened a crack and they got in. Anytime you see some Black person who is like super accomplished, I've said this before, man, woman, doesn't identify as either. Anytime you see a Black person in America in a position of power and success, especially if it's not of their own making, this guy got an LLC and started calling himself a CEO. It wasn't like he was hired by someone because he was competent. Like, in order to be in those spaces, just to enter the door, even with affirmative action and DEI, there's still so much against you as a Black person, especially as a Black woman. To get in that space, you're probably the smartest person in it, at least in the top 5. Why would Gavin Newsom, who's been making headways over the last few months of being like the great white liberal hope after his previous debacle into the podcast world interviewing bigots, why would you circle back on this shit again? In 2 tweets since this man's murder, you've killed all of your goodwill among liberals and non-bigots. Do you want to be the Democratic nominee for 2028 or nah? This whole situation makes me so unbelievably sad. And not anything about his death, actually. Just like what it means, the way he's being treated like a martyr, the way MAGA seems to be almost salivating to go after Democrats, to return the favor. You're so eager to blame Democrats, and you don't even know who did it at this point or why they did it. To watch all these like people crashing out over a bigot, showing their real true colors. The man is not shy about the way he thinks women are inferior. And yet there's women crashing out all over the place. The man is not shy about the way he thinks Black and brown people are inferior. I watched some video of this like young, he was brown. I think he might have been Latino based on the hair. But he's like quoting all these Bible verses and basically deifying this dude. And I was like, bruh, he would call ICE on you in a heartbeat and wouldn't think twice about it. If you got killed via gun violence, he would call you a sacrifice for the Second Amendment. And you're mourning him? All these people openly mourning. And I was like, y'all don't see that y'all are just out here basically celebrating bigotry? Just out in the open, free for all to see? It's kind of terrifying. Not kinda, is. Oh, dear God. I recorded this episode on Wednesday in the middle of the night. I'm doing the final edits on Thursday morning, 11:22 on 9/11. The President of the United States is at a 9/11 memorial and has just announced that Charlie Kirk is going to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom. For what? Being a bigot? Yeah, because that's what we celebrate. This is America. Okay, I'm done. Thank you for listening.
It's back to school season, and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask second grade teacher Mr. Torres.
Put me and just one Clorox wipe on a team? We can take on crayon smudges, sticky fingerprints on every surface, sneezes on the door handle, juice box explosion by the sink, snack crumbs, and don't even get me started on the bathroom passes.
Clorox disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe.
Think about it. Bathroom passes.
Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
Holiday presents, in the red corner, the undisputed, undefeated Weed Whacker Guy. Champion of hurling grass and pollen everywhere. And in the blue corner, the challenger, extra strength Holiday. Eye drops that work all day to prevent the release of histamines that cause itchy allergy eyes. And the winner by knockout is Holiday. Holiday, bring it on.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat. It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
So also, when I took a break, I've also found an excerpt, The Atlantic published an excerpt of Kamala Harris's upcoming book, 107 Days. It comes out later this month, September 23rd. But they posted an excerpt. I did get a chance to read it. The Atlantic describes Kamala Harris's memoir as careful, present, but also blunt, knowing, fervent, occasionally profane, slyly funny. And as you will see in the following excerpt, she no longer seems particularly interested in holding back. I don't know exactly what I was expecting. Maybe because I've been reading a lot of fiction. No, I read that King book, and that was pretty salacious, even though it was a biography. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting this. It's about, obviously, 107 days. That would be the length of time that Kamala Harris was campaigning to become president. Overall, she didn't feel supported, not so much by Biden, but by the team around him. She never throws Biden under the bus, but she takes several not so subtle digs. She doesn't feel like they put her in positions for success as the vice president. As the first woman vice president, she felt that she was under more scrutiny. I'm scrolling through the article right now. Biden did a speech from the Oval Office. I think this is after he had stepped down, and then Kamala would be running for president instead. She calls his speech good, drawing on the history of the presidency to locate his own place within it. She says, but my staff later pointed out it was almost 9 minutes into the 11-minute address before he mentioned me. He described her as, quote, experienced, tough, capable. She's been an incredible partner to me and leader for our country. And she notes, I won't say criticizes, she notes, and that was it. I am a loyal person. About the decision for Biden to run or not to run, she muses, during all the months of growing panic, should I have told Joe to consider not running? Perhaps, but the American people had chosen him before in the same matchup. Maybe he was right to believe they would do so again. He was, by some measures, the most consistently underestimated man in Washington. I think he ran for president 3 times, 4 times. Harris says of Biden, he'd been right about his tactics for pushing his agenda through a resistant Congress. It was possible he was right about this too, the choice to run. She said, of all the people in the White House, I was in the worst position to make the case that he should drop out. I knew it would come off to him as incredibly self-serving if I advised him not to run. He would see it as naked ambition, perhaps as poisonous disloyalty, even if my only message was, don't let the other guy win. It's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that, as if we'd been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision. On Joe's age or mental clarity, or as she refers to it here, his infirmity, she says many people want to spin up a narrative of some big conspiracy at the White House to hide Joe Biden's infirmity. Here's the truth as I lived it. Joe Biden was a smart guy with long experience and deep conviction, able to discharge the duties of president. On his worst day, he was more deeply knowledgeable, more capable of exercising judgment, and far more compassionate than Donald Trump on his best. But at 81, Joe got tired. That's when his age showed in physical and verbal stumbles. I don't think it's any surprise that the debate debacle happened right after 2 back-to-back trips to Europe and a flight to the West Coast for a Hollywood fundraiser. I don't believe it was incapacity. If I believed that, I would have said so. As loyal as I am to President Biden, I am more loyal to my country. She says as VP, she was constantly aware of what she calls, quote, her delicate status. She says because she'd gone after Joe Biden over busing in the 2019 primary debate, she came to the White House with what we lawyers call a rebuttable presumption. She said that she had to prove her loyalty time and time again. This is the part where I was saying she felt unsupported. She says, when Fox News attacked me on everything from my laugh to my tone of voice to whom I dated in my 20s or claimed I was a DEI hire, the White House rarely pushed back with my actual resume. 2 terms elected DA, top cop in the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, senator representing 1 in 8 Americans. Harris says that her chief of staff constantly had to advocate for her role at events. She would tell Biden's team of Harris, quote, she's not going to stand there like a potted plant. Give her 2 minutes of remarks. Have her introduce the president. She noted that the president had a huge comms team, and they would do briefings in the press room every day. But getting anything positive said about my work or any defense against untrue attacks was almost impossible. Why does this sound like Meghan over there in England? Is me? Let's see. She talks about a meeting with the French president. There were some bad feelings going in that needed to be mended. Since she went to a research institute where her mom had worked on breast cancer research. She said she was speaking informally with scientists. She referred to something as, quote and unquote, the plan. She said, I made an exaggerated emphasis and used air quotes. She says Fox News, the New York Post, and Newsmax went wild, claiming I'd faked a French accent. It was total nonsense, but the White House seemed glad to let reporting about my gaffe overwhelm the significant thaw in foreign relations I'd achieved. Worse, I often learned that the president's staff was adding fuel to negative narratives that sprang up around me. One narrative took a stubborn hold that I had a, quote, chaotic office and unusually high turnover during my first year. I remember that article that came out in the Washington Post. Harris writes, the plain fact is, many people who come to work with the new administration in the White House haven't done it before. It's a job unlike any other, and not every person, no matter how talented in their former position, can step up into such a high-stress, round-the-clock role. Others find they just don't want a job that doesn't pay particularly well, takes a massive toll on family, and rules out anything resembling a normal life. I'm not going to keep people on who can't thrive in their jobs. It's not fair to them, and it's not good for the country. So the first year in any White House sees staff churn. Working for the first woman vice president, my staff had the additional challenge of confronting gendered stereotypes, a constant battle that could prove exhausting. She notes that she was the first vice president to have a dedicated press pool tracking her every move, her every public move. She said before her, vice presidents had what's called, quote, a supplemental pool, as the first lady does, covering important events. She says because of the constant attention, things that had never been especially newsworthy about the vice president were suddenly reported and scrutinized. She says when stories were unfair or inaccurate, the president's inner circle seemed fine with it. Doesn't this sound like Meghan? Indeed, it seems as if they decided I should be knocked down a little bit more. She talks about being assigned to take on the role of irregular migration. Essentially, it was to figure out what was driving people from their homes and villages in Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador and into the U.S. She said Republicans mischaracterized her role as, quote, border czar, and no one in the White House comms team helped her to effectively push back and explain exactly what she had been tasked to do, nor did they highlight any of the progress that she achieved. She says she won $5.2 billion in commitments and new investments from private companies. She held bilateral meetings with leaders throughout the region. She said the investments that they did make created 70,000 new jobs, reached more than 1 million people with training programs, and connected 2.5 million previously unbanked with banking services and access to credit. She says she wanted to get that good news out, but the White House staff stalled. They would say to her, quote, not yet, we need more data. The story remained untold. She said that she shouldered the blame for a porous border, an issue that had proved intractable for Democratic and Republican administrations alike. She says no one around the president advocated give her something she can work with. Then the Dobbs decision came down. That's the decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. She says here was this huge issue on which the president was not seeking to lead. Joe struggled to talk about reproductive rights in a way that met the gravity of the moment. He ceded that leadership to me. I initiated a national tour, rallied the outrage in red states and blue states alike, as well as big public events. I convened roundtables. Advocates started attending, then healthcare providers, then families affected by restrictive laws. There would be hundreds of people at these meetings building a national coalition. All of this work upended the narrative that we were doomed to a shellacking in the midterms. We defied historical precedent because of our efforts on the issue. Since 1934, the president's party has lost an average of 28 House seats and 4 Senate seats in midterm elections. We lost just 9 seats in the House and retained control of the Senate. She says Joe was already polling badly on the age issue, with 75% of voters saying he was too old to be an effective president. Then he started taking on water for his perceived blank check to Israel. When polls indicated that I was getting more popular, people around him didn't like the contrast that was emerging. She says she went to Selma, Alabama for the commemoration of Bloody Sunday. She gave a strong speech on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. She said it was a speech that had been vetted and approved by the White House and the National Security Council. It went viral, and the West Wing was displeased. I was castigated for apparently delivering the speech too well. She says of the West Wing, quote, their thinking was zero-sum. If she's shining, he's dim. None of them grasped that if I did well, he being Biden. It would serve as a testament to his judgment in choosing me and reassurance that if something happened, the country was in good hands. My success was important for him. His team didn't get it. I feel like this sounds like the story of every Black woman who's ever had a corporate job or apparently worked in politics. Okay, maybe it is a little juicier than I gave it credit for. I'm open to reading the book. I don't think I'll make it a book club pick. I won't know until after I read it, but it may be worthwhile. Yeah? I feel like y'all gonna read this book whether I was doing it or not. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this episode. I'm still doing Tabitha and Lizzo. I just had to get this up for obvious timeliness reasons. If you didn't listen to part 1 of this episode that I referenced at the beginning, then you might have missed the information about the Ratchet and Respectable merch drop that happens Saturday, September 13th at midnight. Ratchet and Respectable merchandise is dropping. This is our Ratchet and Respectable drop for the year. There will be no Black Friday. There will be no holiday. There will be no Christmas. This is it. This one is a pre-order to give you a better opportunity to get the merchandise that you want so it doesn't sell out in like an hour. But we do have a cap on the number of pieces that we're able to move through the warehouse. So I keep saying merch for all, but it's more like merch for most. Saturday, September 13th, midnight, log on to DemetriaLLucas.com for Ratchet and Respectable merchandise. Also, we have one extra space for the November 2025 Cape Town trip over Thanksgiving weekend. If you are interested, shoot me an email. You can do so at DemetriaLLucas.com. And also, if you're interested in going to Ghana in 2026 in April over the Easter weekend, please shoot me an email. Go to DemetriaLLucas.com, see some World 2026. The Ghana trip is open. So go ahead and click on that. It'll take you to registration. All right? I'm going to go edit the episode about Lizzo and Tab right now. Stand by. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye.